Man, the next cultural hero in my eyes is this man on my shirt right here.
Malcolm Little.
Malcolm Little, better known as Malcolm X. Malcolm's life is very interesting to me.
Okay.
Because, you know, he was born, actually, I think he was born in the 20s. He was born in 1925.
Yep.
So, you know, he was born in a time where oppression and racism was at a real all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was born in 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska. His parents, fortunately for them, they were followers of the Pan-Africanist Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
Which was earlier. He was actually a Jamaican that created these Black Star Line ships, and he wanted to take Black Americans out of America and send them back to Africa so we can build up the nation.
Okay.
So Malcolm Little, Malcolm X's family, his father, his mother were followers of Marcus Garvey. Throughout his childhood, Malcolm's family was subjugated to a lot of harassment by the Ku Klux Klan. His house was burned down when he was a child. I think he was like 4 years old or something like that.
Yeah. And that was just based on his parents, the fact that they were such influential figures in the Black community, and they were so powerful, right?
Yeah, they were powerful. You know, that they were strong within themselves, and when you have groups, you know, hate groups that come out and attack you because of what you look like or what you believe in,
right,
they saw them as a target. You know,
right.
They believed in being pro-Black and loving yourself, and when the Ku Klux Klan seen that, they became a target.
Right, and which I found was crazy. 4 of Malcolm X's uncles were actually murdered by the KKK.
Yeah.
So imagine growing up as, you know, a Black kid in America and seeing your parents do all these amazing things and in their own right, you know, be cultural heroes, right? And they're being targeted by this hate group, by the KKK. And growing up and seeing your 4 uncles being murdered again by this white supremacist hate group, that, you know, that's going to mold you in a certain way.
Yeah, that's going to definitely, you're going to have a certain type of thought process after experiencing that.
Right.
You know, so, and that's just his early childhood. He's had a lot of things that happened to him, you know, preteen.
Right.
You know, like you said, with his uncles and everything. But moving on later down his life, I would say his early 20s, late teens, he moved down to Harlem, New York.
Harlem?
And he was, you know, considered a gangster. He was considered a pimp. He was hustling. He was, you know, trying to get it by any means.
He was robbing folks.
Robbing people, stealing. He dated white women. He, you know, pressed his hair straight. You know, he was...
he fell into the trap, so to speak.
He fell into the trap, and he exuded a lot of self-hate. I believe with Black men, if you straighten your hair, you're subconsciously, you're saying, I hate the way my hair is. I need it to be straight. I need it to look like this standard. So by him straightening his hair, he thought it looked better than his natural hairstyle.
Okay.
Which I believe, you know, Black people, your hair is beautiful. You know,
Absolutely.
you love the skin you're in, love your hair, love your features, love everything about it because it's unique to you.
Right.
You know, so Malcolm learned that lesson the hard way. I believe he went back to Boston. He committed a robbery with a couple people.
Yeah, like a string of robberies. Yeah.
A string of robberies, and he got caught.
And he went to jail.
Yeah. I think he did about 7 years.
7 years.
Did about 7 years. And in that time, there's one thing about Black men when we go to jail. There's only a couple options we have. You know, if we go to prison, we know we're about to do a long bid. You can either, you know, you go to prison and you fit into, you know, the prison culture. You indulge in the drugs and the gangs and the violence and whatever goes with that. Or 2, you can use that time to rehabilitate yourself and to get yourself in a mental and spiritual place, you know, afterwards better than when you went in. And I believe that's what Malcolm did. He went in to prison, and his family started sending him letters about the Nation of Islam and about Elijah Muhammad. And he grew interest over time in the nation. And I believe he met somebody in prison that was of the nation.
Right.
And they kind of schooled him to it, let him know how it really goes. And he kind of was in his cocoon stage of his metamorphosis in prison. He was locked away physically, but mentally and spiritually and emotionally, he just kept growing.
Right.
And more mature and more intelligent and loving himself more and more as those months and years went by.
Knowledge of self. Gain knowledge of self. Yep.
So, once he gained that knowledge of self, he had the courage to actually write Elijah Muhammad and have some type of dialogue with them.
Right.
And once he got out, that was pretty much the first thing he wanted to do, was join the nation.
And that's what he did. He studied, I guess, under Elijah Muhammad.
Yep.
And I think he quickly moved up the ranks, and he became, again, similar to Muhammad Ali. He quickly, just by the way he was able to kind of captivate crowds and the influence he had on his community, he quickly became a target by the FBI.
Oh yeah.
And his whole philosophy, different from Martin Luther King, who was also a cultural hero, was, we're gonna be respectful. We're gonna hold ourselves to a certain standard and decorum, but if we are met with violence, if we are met with hate, we have to match that energy. And that was kind of Malcolm X's whole thing. Whereas Martin Luther King was, we need to turn the other cheek. We need to lead with love. We need to, kind of in the words of Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. That was kind of Martin Luther King's philosophy. And Malcolm X wasn't down with it. He's like, the only way to kind of flip this thing on his head, this whole racism, this whole systemic racism thing that's in play, is we got to match their energy. If they come with guns, we coming with guns. If they're coming with violence and that's how they want to play this game, we're coming with violence. That's the only way we're going to be able to flip this thing on our head, is if we stand up for ourselves and let them know we ain't going for their shit.
Right.
And I think the Martin Luther King philosophy mixed in with the Malcolm X philosophy, I think they're both needed, right? I think that's why they're both cultural heroes. It's, we need to match energy. We need to be able to defend ourselves. But we also need to also lead with love. And we also not need to always, sometimes when they go low, we do need to go high. Sometimes when they go low, we need to be right there with them.
Right.
So that's kind of what I got from Malcolm X. Yeah, I think they're both necessary, Martin and Malcolm.
Definitely. And I don't know if you know this, but if for those of you out there that are into Marvel, X-Men was actually created based off of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Martin Luther King represented by Professor X and Malcolm X represented by Magneto. Just like you said with the approaches, Professor X, which is Martin Luther King, had an approach to the mutants that, we need to come together and be peaceful so that the humans can accept us.
I didn't know that.
And we just kind of want to integrate, and we kind of just want to be one with them.
Okay.
On the opposite end, Magneto was like, we know who we are. We know what we're about. And if they don't want to accept us, we don't need to accept them.
Right.
Because we can have our own.
Right. We can build our own.
We can build our own. We can have our own.
Yeah.
And if any other mutants out there want to join us and empower yourselves, please come.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be the ones to try to be buddy-buddy with the humans.
Yeah.
So from that comic, Professor X and Magneto was pretty much mirrored Malcolm and Martin. If you would just replace those characters and replace mutants with black, it fits perfectly.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Man. That's deep. That's deep.
So if anybody wants to go back and watch any of the old X-Men shows, movies, and kind of look at it in that light of Professor X being Martin, Magneto being Malcolm, and just kind of change your lens on that while you're watching it, and it's pretty interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. But to kind of wrap up Malcolm X was he ended up believing the Nation of Islam because he didn't agree with a lot of things Elijah Muhammad had going on in his personal life. So he kind of separated himself, and I think that put even more of a target on his back from the Nation of Islam. And then, again, he had that target on his back from the FBI. So he ended up getting killed. To this day, there's still debates on whether he was killed by the FBI or if he was killed by the Nation of Islam. I don't really know, but all I know is we lost a cultural hero. His impact on the black community was tremendous. I know he had estimated like 30,000 people at his funeral.
Yeah, just about.
So that just kind of shows the impact of this man. And so we appreciate you, Malcolm X. Rest in peace. You've paved the way for a lot of cultural heroes and,
A lot of upcoming activists.
As well. So, yeah, man, we salute you. We love you, Malcolm X and Martin Luther.
Definitely. And if for anybody that wants any more information on Malcolm X, you can buy the autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley, or you can watch the movie Malcolm X with Denzel starring.
Denzel Washington, who was
Denzel
also
Washington.
one of our cultural heroes. We'll get into him a little bit later, but, Denzel did a great job in that movie. He does a great job in every movie.